But going back to Citi for a while, until recently, and I haven't tested this yet, but until recently, I don't think Citi would have approved me. More to the point of, I had an old medical collection on my credit report that I think was bullshit, but I'm pretty sure that both Citi and Barclay were not having it.
Weird.
And I thought that it was an unfair charge, and it was based on an unfair collection practice, in my opinion. I was standing on principle like an idiot. And yeah, never do that.
I will burn my credit at the stake before I pay this collection.
This hill I am dying on. But it was bullshit because the way that, and people should know about this, the way that collections are working these days is that they might, a collection, if your bill gets referred to collections, the creditor might call, they might email, but one thing they keep track of is when they make first contact. And I remember being at the hospital where I incurred the bill trying to get it settled up, and they're like, would you like us to call the collections agency now with you here and we can try and explain it or figure it out? And so we did. I had a conversation. I was like, all right, I need to do some more research and see if this charge is legitimate. I think it should have been covered by insurance, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to go into whether or not it was my fuck up or theirs, which I guess should tell you if I'm not going to go into it. But so I called them back, and yeah, it was me. It was my fuck up. I called them back, and I was like, yeah, it turns out it looks like you're right, so I'd like to pay it off. And last time we talked, you said that if you paid it off in full now, it would be taken off my credit. What they said was you can pay it off in full, and we'll just have it erased from your credit, or you can make a payment plan, or we can do a partial settlement payment, but it will stay on your credit.
Okay.
For the full length of 7 years.
Right.
And so so I called them back and I was like, yeah, I guess I'd like to do the payment in full and get it taken off my credit. And she's like, oh no, that option is only available on your first call. Yeah. And I was like, what does that mean? And she said, yeah, if we tell you your options to pay it off and then you hang up or don't do that in this circumstance, then we assume that you're a bad actor and it's some sort of like punishment, and it's an incentive that they get you to take your credit card out and make the payment in full right then and there on the line. I went ape shit. I was like, oh, fuck you. Like, oh, trying to teach me a little something about the way that the world works?
Just a little ultimatum there.
Are you my mom? What the fuck? No. And so I just sat on it. I was like, sue me over $300.
I was gonna pay it, but now you're not gonna get anything.
Pretty much.
Here's my question though. Do we know anyone that has actually gone through that process and paid it in full on the first try and it doesn't get reported to your credit? And I'm just curious because it really, really sounds like a tactic to manipulate people. And collection agencies aren't exactly known for being transparent.
Yeah, they're a piece of shit. I'm sorry. They're a piece of shit. I guess I'm okay with me being out there on, it's like towing companies. It's kind of like a racket. It's rough. They get rough. And there's a lot of potential for bad actors in that business.
Sure.
And so I don't let credit collectors and credit bureaus shame me because I'm like, pot calling the kettle black. Oh, I'm the bad person. You're a fucking collections agency. You might as well be wearing a fucking trench coat, flashing kids on the street.
Oh my god.
Yeah, maybe we should cut this part out. I might be going overboard a little bit, but
it's not.
But to answer your question, yes.
Okay.
Then it's me. What happened was I sat on it for years. I was declined for Citi and Barclay cards intermittently because
it was an open collection?
I think so.
Okay.
That was what the decline letter said. And in the meantime, I was getting approved for Chase, Bank of America, and American Express credit cards with the exact same credit profile.
Well, because
they were approving me.
There's a distinct difference between open and closed collections.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like
I don't know that there is, because it keeps on affecting your score as a missed payment. Like, my understanding of credit is that if they will not take it off your credit, don't pay it. because the credit is the kind of the harm to your credit is kind of the cudgel they have to hold over your head, which is why they're offering a one and done solution of pay us now and it's gone. Without that card on the table, all they can do is sue you, and it might be more expensive for them to sue you than for them to actually collect. So if they refuse to take it off your credit and put it in writing, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't pay them. Keep the money. Your credit's going to suffer anyways. The score is going to suffer anyways. If they take your money but don't take it off your credit report, then your score still suffers and you still have trouble with Citi and Barclay.
Then you just go into hibernation for 7 years until it falls off your credit report and
It's bad news. It's bad news. But it's not the end of the world. I was still getting approved for cars and getting a bunch of point balances. But what ended up happening was a year or two later, I started getting notices in the mail saying, call us now and pay off this bill and we will take it off your credit.
Okay.
It might have gotten referred to a new collections agency, or the collections agency might have sold, or they might have just put their heads together and been like, all right, how can we get some money flowing into this business? Let's offer to take some of these off people's credit, even if 2 years ago they were like, no, you need to learn to pay. Piece of shit. But so I called them and I was very savvy about it. I was ready to pay in full right then and there. Like, that's the biggest piece of advice that I took out of this was, if you're trying to erase a collection, be ready to pay in full then and there.
Okay.
Because if you call back again, that window might close. They might decide to appoint themselves Lord of the Flies and teach you a lesson. But I was ready to pay then and there, but I was like, look, I'm prepared to pay in full. If our call gets cut off, can you please call me back? And I asked them pointed questions about, how am I going to get confirmation? Am I going to get it in writing? You know, is there a reference for this call? And indeed, as soon as I made the payment, I stayed on the line with them, and I received an email saying, we have received your payment, and as agreed, we will submit to credit bureaus that this account is paid as agreed or taken off. Paid as agreed or removed entirely is what you want. Settlement is not good. It's still a bad credit mark and it will stay there for 7 years.
Yep, I've done it.
Charge off, same deal. That means they're writing it off as a loss, and that still hurts your credit. So once I did that, I waited for a while because I think I was waiting to get 524 or some shit, but I applied for the Barclay Arrival Plus and got it, and that was kind of my signal that this was sort of a new era. My credit went up a lot, my credit score went up a lot. It was kind of low 700s, it went to mid and high 700s at that point, at the point that I paid that off. So there were a lot of tangible effects that lead me to believe now that I could get Citi cards if I wanted them, but before I was always declined for them because of an old collection.
I had one that I settled before I started really getting into points and miles, but it kept my credit score from being as high as it could potentially be, but within probably a year or two after that happening, I was right back up around 700 and getting over the 700 threshold, even with that still being on my report, like as settled. I didn't have an issue getting approved for cards, and then after the 7 years had passed and it dropped off, my credit score shot up like 100 points overnight. It was crazy. It's insane what a difference that can make, and it's so funny too that it's such a duration of time has passed and the account's closed. It's like, it's settled, you paid it, like you paid the money, but it's like, we're gonna keep this anchor on your credit score for almost a decade so you can think about it.
Right.